The most often applied definition of preventability as it relates to traffic crashes is to ask if the driver did everything they reasonably could to have avoided the crash. It might be helpful to use two crash scenarios to illustrate some of these points. The first crash occurred during the day on an urban interstate highway with 3 lanes of travel in each direction. The weather was clear and the pavement was clear and dry. Vehicle 1, a Kenworth T800, was pulling a 3-axle lowboy trailer loaded with a refrigeration house, which weighed 26,000 pounds. This truck was in the right lane following another Kenworth, pulling a dry van trailer loaded with 28,000 pounds of hazardous corrosive floor stripping material. As both trucks were proceeding in the right lane, a car passed them and then cut in front of the first truck, intending to take the exit. The first truck braked heavily to avoid impacting the car. The driver of the second truck also braked, but determined he would impact the trailer ahead of him. He began steering to the left, but struck the corner of the trailer. The Vehicle 2 cab was torn off the frame and ultimately came to rest against the center dividing barrier, with the driver still strapped in the seat. The truck itself also came to rest against the barrier. The car that began the chain reaction was not struck, continued up the off-ramp and did not stop. Although witnesses verified the car's actions, it was not identified. The truck driver was freed from his cab and taken to the hospital, where he was treated for minor injuries. From a fault perspective, it's pretty easy to conclude that the driver of the car set the crash in motion by making a risky lane change maneuver in front of the first truck. Now, let's take a look at the same event from the perspective of preventability. Was there reasonable action that the driver of the second truck could have taken to avoid being involved in a crash? More to the point, what does his involvement say about his following distance? He was following so closely that he barely had time to react before he impacted the trailer ahead. Of course, when you're going down the highway, you have no idea that someone may be about to pull a bonehead stunt. But you can be proactive and take action to give yourself the room and time it takes to react to such a situation. Increased following distance gives you the space and time you need to react. Now, let's take a look at another example. The second crash occurred at midday in bright sunlight following a heavy snow the previous night. The 2-lane state highway was wet with intermittent areas of slush. The roadway was straight and level with a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. A Honda CR-V was southbound and was followed by a Freightliner conventional tractor pulling a 53-foot van trailer with 9,500 pounds of cargo. The car was going slower than the posted speed limit of 55 miles per hour. The truck pulled into the left lane to begin passing the car. The car began a left turn at an intersection. The truck struck the left side of the Honda. The car spun and exited the roadway to the west side of the road and contacted a signpost with its left side. The single occupant of the car was injured, transported, treated, and released. The car was towed from the scene. The driver of the truck stated that he thought the car was going to turn right. When a vehicle you're following slows, it's important to wait until there's a clear indication of what that person's intentions are. The car may have drifted to the right, giving the impression of a right turn. Indeed, there was an upcoming road on the right the car might have turned onto. However, pulling out to pass nearing an intersection is a risky maneuver. Actually, in this situation, rather than taking action, the truck driver should have slowed and waited for the situation to resolve itself. The delay in trip time would have been minimal, but could have easily saved them from being involved in a crash. Although the concept of preventability may not be popular, it can point the way to improving your driving skills. The next time you're driving down the highway, try examining traffic situations with an eye toward preventability. Ask yourself, what action can I take to avoid driving into a bad situation? Thinking in terms of preventability will serve to sharpen your defensive driving skills.